Thank you for joining the Soul Sisters Cafe.
Tracey Gritz here, and my very delicious friend Jordan is going to be sharing with us today a follow-up on our last podcast, and it's pretty much a surprise for me. So why don't you take it away for us, Jordan?
Yes. So we were talking about friendship and not wanting to shine our light, and what the Marianne Williamson quote, where our greatest fear is standing in the light and the ramifications of standing in the light. So first of all, can you share the epiphany that you had after the last podcast about the lunch that you had with a friend and what you noticed?
What I noticed was pretty much things in my life are very yummy and very smooth and lots of love and just not a lot of contention, and great relationship with my man, with my kids. Right now, pretty smooth flowing, pretty yummy. And
congratulations.
Yeah, so lovely. Love that. Oh my God, see good. And even when it's not lovely, it's okay. I guess that's the significant piece, is that even when it's not lovely, I don't love it, but I am at peace with when things are no fun. So I went to lunch with a friend of mine, and I realized after our talk, when we talked about if my life is easier than hers, I don't want her to kind of ask me questions about myself, because then I was feeling uncomfortable about answering them truthfully, which I would have, which is life is really okay. Even though there's these challenges, it's all okay.
You sound so apologetic. It's like, my life, it's okay. It's okay. That's what you sound like.
That's totally right. I know. I didn't want to
hate to say that it's okay. Getting along with my husband?
Right. And even if I don't get along, it's okay, because he and I had just had an argument.
Right. I'm okay with how it sucks, and I'm sorry to say that I'm okay, because it doesn't sound like you're okay.
It was quite an opportunity, right? So I don't want to do this. So I realized after our call that in order to not have to do that, my strategy, of course not conscious, but I noticed this afterwards, was to ask her a lot of questions about herself and her life and what was going on with her. And so that she would then not have any time.
I've been the recipient of the shotgun questioning method. Totally. This is what I'm going to share with you. Okay.
Exactly. So she wouldn't have any time to ask me questions about myself. And then I wouldn't have to say how, even if there was an argument, it was okay. And that I have really quite an amazing, abundant amount of inner peace.
And because you felt you were risking the connection and risking something in your friendship by.
Yes. She might think I'm full of crap. Could be one thing. So there's that, what people think of me. But that's my own. I would, now I can go, oh, that's my fear of what people think of me. 2, I would be risking my friendship with her. I would be making here's the gig. I would be making my friend feel bad. My goodness would be having her feel bad, and I didn't want her to feel bad, like, okay, so I know it's frustrating right now in my life, but now Tracey over here, and she's got it, she's so happy and loving and all that stuff, and then that would make her feel bad because she didn't have it, and I love her and I don't want her to feel bad.
Okay, so thank you for laying that out and where it went for you after the last podcast. And for me, I watched a bit of the replay and I saw an epiphany that I had, and I forgot to bring it back around, or at least it was an image that I remembered from our friendship, was a period of time when we would talk and I was so dissatisfied. And I would get off the phone, and it happened multiple times in a row. And I'm like, she won't tell me anything about herself. It would be like 45 minutes, 30, 40, 45 minutes talking about me. And then it'd be, so tell me about you. And you're like, yeah, everything's great. Gotta go. It was like, I'm like, where is she? So the other side. So this is one example, my example of the opposite side of this interaction. And I felt a kind of grilling. It was fast and furious. And I couldn't get an question in edgewise. And I felt like it was totally turned around on me so quickly. And I'm thinking, this is the dynamic that was going on. And it didn't, do you think that was, it's not like I'm saying it's April of this year. Do you remember if you were doing that to me?
Yeah. I think it was actually that way through when when I definitely started to evolve, I guess I want to say, to change. So I would totally say that. I have had many phases in my life, and both of them probably were the lovely recipient of that now in hindsight. And one was because my life sucked so much. I could barely go into it. I felt like it was the same
that too.
Shit over and over and over. And I just didn't want to talk about it. So I actually think you've experienced me in both places where, one, I just would want to live through somebody else because I was so tired of living my life. Mm-hmm. There was that. And so I'd rather just ask you questions and give cursory information because it just sucked and I didn't want to regurgitate it. And so there was that piece. You had to live through that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Hey, one thing. Yeah. Just watch your hands because I think you're punking the mic a little bit, which some of the listeners may not love that.
You know what? It's my table. I got to keep my hands off my table.
Yeah, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, we got to still have a judgment about awareness. Okay.
I don't even know what she said, people. If you're confused, I'm confused. I have no idea what that meant. All of a sudden she's judging.
I totally just tried to get you off path.
Okay. All right.
I really didn't. I just saw a squirrel for a minute. Things are actually pretty good. I mean, same Michigan's craziness, but just a whole different perspective on my Michigan's craziness and a whole different awareness around it. And so now I'm actually able to navigate the pain in a whole different loving and lovely way. And so then I felt bad because I was in kind of the muck still, but yet the muck was no longer mucky for me. And so then if you're in the muck, and you're in the muck and you're like really in there, but I'm in the muck, but I'm kind of not in there. I'm kind of like okay with the muck. I see the muck for what it is. I'm not wanting to share that. Exactly. So you actually were the lovely recipient. Give, never take, always give.
I'm just a service friend. I'm here to be here for you, whatever you're going through.
That's right. Totally.
I wear a little vest when I'm with Tracey. Service friend.
I am a service friend. I want to get on the airplane for free.
No, I would get on for free.
Oh.
You have to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So those are flying first class. You can have free.
Okay. So then we realized the same thing you just described you're doing with the friend at lunch about a week ago was happening with me, and we've got an insight into your mindset.
Yes.
Right?
We do.
Okay. So
lovely.
So just for kicks, on the other side, and this is using language and vocabulary that I've developed. I wouldn't have known then, but I knew that I was super frustrated.
Yes.
In the first phase, I understand. You would say, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Just tell me about your life. Just tell me about your life. And I would tell you. And, but in the second phase, when I was wanting to hear about you, and it felt like time after time after time, I'm not receiving. And it felt like it was not reciprocal. Here I am. I'm showing myself, which is not pleasant stuff. I'm going through difficulties. And then I'm just getting this like wall. But it's not even just a wall. It's this grilling wall, this wall that talks and asks a lot of questions. And it's just like, I want to know. So it seems like you want to know all of this stuff about what's going on with me. And I remember thinking, I want to know just as much about you. I want to know what's going on. And I don't. And then about a year ago, we were at your brother's house. We were there for Kyle Cease. And I think I remember having a moment of, when did this all happen? When did you transform? Like when, how come I didn't hear about this in real time? And I think we're discovering why I wasn't hearing about it in real time. And then as someone going through pain, and trying to resolve my own life, I've expressed the idea of, holy cow. And then my ego gets pissed off, gets frustrated. Cause it's like, you mean you were walking up the staircase and you couldn't tell me, you couldn't have lent a hand or said, here's how you walk up the staircase. I'm like, what are you? It sounds redonkulous from a light perspective, from a love perspective. Of course, you don't shut down your intimacy, start grilling the person about their painful life, and then not let them know that, hey, you've discovered the cure for suffering and misery, and you've discovered how to have inner peace. So you're talking to someone with a bunch of turmoil that you love. Sounds ridiculous. So then I started realizing, so here's where it goes. So I'm going to a different place, like where it's for me. There's a part of me that's like, I just want her to see. She needs to shine her light. And the reason being, part of the reason being, you mean you could have relieved some of my suffering? How come you didn't help me? And like blame, and I'm a victim of what Tracey was going through. And we both see like life is for us, and whatever we are going through at any time is for us. So I felt that like finger shake. So I came to a new, another epiphany. But before I go there, do you have anything to say about hearing kind of my side of what?
No, I can totally understand. I can totally understand it. I can totally understand it. I can completely understand it. And I mean, I can, because I know, like, I was super uncomfortable to share, like, and I started to a little bit more, and I know it was like, so, like, how I would see people, how I would walk down the street, and
right. Like, she would talk about, do you mind if I say some of the things about your heart?
No, of course, no, the laundry is out.
The laundry's out. The heart chakra is out. So she would feel all this, she began to feel all of this tremendous love for other people. Now, as we are recording this right now, she just did a Facebook Live about how she was a judgy McJudger, and if it was an Olympic sport, she would have been a medalist, gold medalist, she would have been the Michael Phelps of judgment.
Oh my God, I wish I thought of that.
She would have been the Michael Phelps of judgment. And then somehow she comes into this person that is going around feeling this enormous love for other people. And that's when I say to her, when did this happen? What? It's fantastic. But could you, like, I would have loved to have seen the gradations, of how this developed.
Yes.
And the irony, Trey, is that I think that over this last week, I've seen our lives like as a water park where they have these slides that go in circles, and they have these paths, and then you get dumped out in the pool at the bottom. So I feel like we were both in a chute, and then somehow we got dumped out in the same pool, like right about the same time.
Yes.
And I was going through my struggles, for sure, all of my struggles, and I was seeking the light, and I was going through all of my stuff, and everything, right? Requirements for growth. Everything that I experienced with you was a requirement for my growth.
Yeah.
And everything that you experienced on the other side was a requirement for your growth. And we were not learning the same thing. We were having our friendship, we were having our experiences, but we were on different paths. And but they roughly, right? Here we are doing a podcast where we've kind of met, and
totally.
The laundry's out. And I think what you mean by that is like we can talk about source and creator and our light and
all my crap.
We're more vulnerable. We're more willing to be vulnerable. There's no way that I could be doing this podcast with you if I felt energetically I'm going to air my laundry, and then she's just going to grill me with questions. Because I'm like, no, there's no balance. I'm not feeling balanced there. So yeah, I'm.
So I can
somehow
totally
it all worked
understand.
out. Like the like source divinity worked it out.
Yeah.
What was there for us to learn. So I'm sorry, did I interrupt anything?
No, I just totally can understand how freaky that would be.
Okay, cool. So when I was reliving all of that this last week, and I felt myself energetically shaking my finger. I'm like, okay, so we're real clear about what Tracey should have done differently in this situation. Like, you're just all over there in Tracey's business about how Tracey should have been different. And so that just noticing that energy, I'm like, okay, what's here for me?
Totally.
And
so can I just pause?
Yeah.
Right. Delicious. I mean, that's the thing about blame. It's like, Tracey should have done, Tracey, the blame victim, it keeps us in victim. When you're over there seeing my part, and we can say it lovely, I'm seeing her part in this.
If she had only done this differently, she would have changed everything for both of us.
Yes. And just the growth of that, Jordan,
yeah,
for
sure.
you, really. I mean, and for me when we do these things, but that is significant.
Mm-hmm.
That a massive part that you figure out, hey, I mean, of course I wasn't doing it. There's a part of you also that knows I was not doing it intentionally. But even that, like, you're not even going to that level of it. You're not going to the level of, well, she wasn't doing it intentionally. You're going to, what's in this for me?
100,000,000%.
So I'm just saying, flippin' commendable. That's all.
Thank you. And yes, it is commendable. It is commendable. And I did think, to the degree, okay, so what could I can see all these things that Tracey could have done differently. What are some of the things I could have done differently? I could have said, I'm not feeling intimate here. I'm feeling this is one-sided. I really love to hear about you. And I remember in my stumbling way of trying to do it, my strategy was to say, how much time do you have? Okay, so you have 20 minutes. Great. Like, let's cut it at 10 minutes so that you get 10 minutes. I get to ask you 10 minutes worth of questions. I get to hear 10 minutes of your life. That was a strategy that I tried at least once or twice, a couple times. Mm-hmm. Trying, right? And I'm strategizing against a force that I don't know what's going on. But I'm trying to take care of what I want, what my needs are. I could have said that. I could have said, this doesn't feel intimate. This doesn't feel equitable. Or I'd so much like to hear about your life. I have no idea what's going on with the kids. I have no idea what's going on with Larry. I could have said those things. But so that's true. And so where I got to is like, what am I literally finger wagging at her? I want her to shine her friggin' light and help me basically. So I know that that's fear-based because I'm like, don't leave me behind. I want to grow. I want less misery. And if you have any kind of medicine, so to speak, that will help me, please share your secret, your secret sauce. But I'm like, okay, here's what is the most powerful is when I say the thing I'm finger wagging about her, which is shine your friggin' light. And I was like, oh, does that apply for me in any way? Should I be shining my light a little bit more than I'm shining it? Yes. And I'm like, oh no, it's so much more fun to wag my finger at Tracey about not shining her light. It's so much easier. It just is. It's so much easier to look at someone else, to be the victim of that someone else, because that's habituated, right? And to focus and to just armchair quarterback how you should really step in the light and just let go of all your fears of stepping into the light. I mean, come on. If you have the cure for cancer, let's get out there with it. Let's get out there with that good mojo and great medicine that you have. And if I'm being honest, like I kind of shut down right there. So in my mind, I got off of your back, but I was like, okay, let's go watch some TV now.
Totally.
Let's not go shine the light. Let's go just watch some TV.
Totally.
But I was like, okay, I do. And then the energy just goes and drains out. The energy toward you, and wanting to hyper focus on you, drains out. Yes. When I receive it, so that's not exactly true, because the momentum is building for getting my light out. And it's so great because I'm so all over your ass. I'm not verbally like calling her on the phone and texting her, are you shining your light? Are you shining your light? But in my mind, I'm having this whole big, like, what Tracey should be doing. And I know who it's for. First person, something we learned a long time ago is first person communication. So that's what I want to say so badly. I want to take Tracey and I want to shake her by the shoulders, say, shine your freaking light. And it's me. That it's a first person communication. I'm the one that communication is for the most.
When we have a massive judgment, right, as Buddha would say, what we judge in others, we judge in ourselves. And we know how strong it is by how often that alarm, that record play, like a song worm, a thought worm, it just keeps coming in and coming in and coming in. And that's the more that thought worm or that alarm the thought worm to us is an alarm. Let me just back up. So when we have a thought over and over and over again,
whether it's toward ourselves or toward someone else or anything. Because it can be toward a political figure, it can be toward a relationship that you have, a child that you have, a neighbor.
Yes, those repetitive thought worms, that's like a red flag. Like, hello, there's something here for us. Hello, see, here's here. I'm just going to have that same thought. Yeah.
Right, I'm not going anywhere until you get the gift, until you figure this out, until you just breathe and take a deeper look.
And that thought, and when we don't, it just keeps replaying and replaying and replaying. So I think that whole journey is super cool. Here she's over finger wagging, and I'm like, wasn't that interesting? God, that must have sucked for them. But I don't. But I have finger wagged at many other things because it is mine to own in a big way. It is my massive learning for me. So I think I love how out there you are with that. I mean, of course I feel like shit because I don't want to be a friend who doesn't shine their light or do any, like the whole premise was that I didn't want to hurt my friend.
Okay.
And then I end up doing it.
Exactly. Because the action of fear is always to create more fear. And I'm like, look at her. Because you were at the frequency of fear.
Totally.
When you were there. Totally. And so then you're tethered to it. You're
and
tethered
it's
to
not even conscious. No. I wonder. So Jordan, even if you were to have said to me, I'm feeling distant. I'm not feeling connected. I'm feeling like there's something going on here, but I don't know what it is. At that time, I don't even know that I could have articulated it. I probably would have been like, I probably would have been like, I don't understand it. I don't know. Because at that time, so in a sense, life, the universe, it takes us time to navigate these things. Because if we want to go back in hindsight and look, you could have asked me that question, but in hindsight, at some of those times, I don't think I actually would have been able to answer it. The first time I think I started to become aware of it was when we were doing the Kyle C stuff. And because that's really when it was that's really when we were going through a lot as a family with one of our sons. And I was navigating that in a very different way. And one time, and that's when we started our phone calls. Mm-hmm. Every week, Jordan and I had weekly phone calls. And that's when I started to have an inkling about, I don't want Jordan to feel bad. I don't want to have Jordan feel bad. That was the first time I actually had that real kind of thought. And then you brought it up in a conversation or something, and I'm like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want you to feel bad. And you were like, what the hell are you talking about? And that was in one of our Zoom or Skype calls, and then we revisited it again in California. So way at the beginning when I was doing it, I don't even know that I could have articulated it. Now that as we talk it through. And I think that goes to the magnificence of life and blooming at the pace at the rate that is safe for us. Mm-hmm. Because both you and I were in a quandary. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in it. And you're like, I feel off in it. And I didn't feel super connected either.
Right.
But I didn't know how to do it.
Sure. Because it couldn't have felt great to be driven by this fear. Yeah. So I just got to keep asking questions. Okay. And Jordan's going to finish her answer right now. Okay. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
And you're like hiding. You're like running in plain sight, like hiding in plain sight.
Exactly.
I have a theory. I totally understand that it was not conscious, and the way that you can describe it now, the awareness that you have now, could have been elusive back at that time that was actually happening. And I think that if one or both of us had shifted, so if I had spoken my truth, if I could, as bumbling and with whatever words and whatever explanation and whatever awareness that I had at the time, that it would have shifted the field. So if either one of us had done that, it would have shifted things. And if I had, for example, if it had been me and I had said, I feel like the questions come so fast and furious, and I don't get I love that you're curious about my life, but I'm curious about your life too. Yes. I really want to know what's going on. That would have shifted things. You may have realized then, I don't want to tell her what's going on with my life.
Yes.
Because I'm afraid. It would have shifted something, maybe the authenticity, maybe the vulnerability, maybe just that question to give you some triggers to go, what is going on? I do feel that this is off. Right. And I do feel that I grill her, and I'm a shotgun method with these questions. Yes. Why? And maybe it would have taken you a month or something, but you may have asked yourself some other questions. Or if you had somehow noticed it, I think it would have shifted, and it certainly wouldn't have gone down the way that it went down, because we would have introduced a new variable. One of us would have introduced a new variable. Then that would have given the other person an opportunity to respond, react, question themselves, go, yeah, I kind of feel that too. I don't know what to say. Mm-hmm. If I have any ideas about that, I'll let you know. Or if I had said, can we split the call? If I had been more insistent about that, like, Tracey, I really literally have no idea what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear, can we start with you? And then that would have given you would have, you know what I mean? You would have been like, oh, I know I'm selecting what I'm going to tell her. And why is that? That's just so crazy. This is my long-term friend. I mean, like, what is going on with me? Mm-hmm. And it would have shifted. Whatever, if someone would have, it would have shifted the course. And it's fine that we came out the way that we did.
Oh, yeah.
The beautiful thing for me about our relationship is that you are such I do not understand all of Tracey's motivations. I have been with her through being Judgy McJudgy, Michael Phelps of judgment. The history maker of judge. I've been through that, and I'm a total judger too. But I've been through that. I've been through so many things with her, and pretty much I've been hurt. I've had all that kind of stuff too. But pretty much I've chosen to love you through the whole thing and to give you the benefit of the doubt. And 100%. So Tracey's been that like person where I could develop that and know what that's like, right? So cool thing is I can use that as a transferable skill. So I think that's why, and in future episodes we'll probably approach some other painful areas of our relationship, why we've been friends for this long, because that's kind of the basis. And that's the same thing for Tracey with me. Like, we're kind of an odd couple, especially in the beginning. Right? Right?
Totally. We're like frickin' frack. Or, I mean, we're just the opposites. Especially at the beginning.
And yet there was this, like, I think we saw the authenticity, we saw the love, and we were accepting. Like, even though I teased Tracey about what you would want, flaws, foibles, whatever. Like, you can see me, I'm teasing her today. Yeah. But I love her.
This is true.
I love her. It's on a basis of love. And I think that that's what our hearts kind of feel. And so we've been this playground for each other to develop intimacy, watch another journey, let another human being be who they are, even when it's not the way you want that human being to be, especially in relationship to you. So anyway, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed this episode.
Oh, good. Me too.
I had fun. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Just that I do. It's such a great reminder for me that when something feels off, to trust myself and to acknowledge it out loud. Even if the other person says, I'd have no idea what you're talking about, you are batshit crazy, it doesn't matter because I've honored my own self in saying something. So if I notice that there's something off or something I feel uncomfortable with or something that seems just off, I'm not even going to use the word uncomfortable, I had this happen to a friend. I'm just remembering this. I said something because we may not know the truth until they figure it out. A friend of mine was going through a lot, and I remember saying to him back then, hey, are you okay? You seem different. There's something, there's just a spark or something. I didn't even use the word spark, but there's just something different. Is everything okay? And he's like, sure, yeah, everything's fine. A year goes by. And I'm just thinking, so one thing is this is just all for me. What you're saying is, what I realized is how much I thought I'm so off. I'm so wrong. I'm so off. Maybe I shouldn't have said something. So now after that conversation, how could I have been so wrong? Blah, blah, blah. Instead of just saying, I could have just taken it as, that's interesting. I feel that way. He's saying it's not, and been done with it. But it's the gyrations that I went through afterwards. And then a year later, he says, yeah, you remember when you said that? I was going through a lot. And then I'm like, oh my God, you could have saved me. A same thing, Jordan. Do you know you could have saved me? And realizing, yes.
What, you were the Jordan in that version?
I was the Jordan.
Oh.
Yes. So it's such a good reminder that just because we ask the question or just because we share it and they don't say yes to it or validate it, we don't need that validation to feel our feelings.
Right.
That's for me right now. That is definitely one of the things that I've gotten out of this. That if I'm feeling all jumpy around a conversation, okay, I'm feeling jumpy in a conversation. What's going on? Yeah. That is a feeling for me.
Yeah.
Also, there's that too. So for me, this was helpful all the way around.
Yeah. And we dive deep like this, probably when we feel those similar feelings in future relationships or interactions, we will be inspired to look more deeply and look differently and see what's going on. And that's what awareness does. It just it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is. It is true. It is a gift that keeps on giving. Sometimes we love that awareness and sometimes not so much.
Not so much. That's right. All right. I love you. And I'll see you back in the next podcast.
Bye.